Okay, in this video, I'm going to be drawing a phylogeny of Chordata. So the entire phylum, which is going to include our invertebrate chordatans. So in the current model, the earliest branching point is between cephalochordates and these are lancelets, and the Eurochordata, which are tunicates and salps and a few other things. So these are the earliest lineages that are still extant, that still have extant representatives that retain those four characteristics of the chordata, which is a thing you should know. You really, really want to know that going into the exam. That will be a prominently featured part, is knowing what those four synapomorphies of the chordata are. They are dorsal tubular nerve cord, notochord, pharyngeal gill slits, and postanal tail. Okay, so at this point, we get into our own clade of the chordata, which is the vertebrata. And vertebrates have that vertebral column, meaning they've got the fusion between the dorsal tubular nerve cord and the notochord. But we're going to kind of slowly play out more and more synapomorphies that we find in the chordata. So ignathans are jawless fishes. So these include things like lamprey, not eels, but lamprey and some other fish, hagfish, that have a round mouth. Typically, they can form a sucker onto whatever prey item they are feeding upon. And they have teeth, but they can't chew because they don't have a jaw. So they can kind of thorn their way into a prey item, but then they have to just kind of tear the flesh off and kind of swallow it whole because they aren't able to articulate the motion of those teeth very well because there's no bone there to support that or any stiffening structure. Okay. So as I write this year is the 50th anniversary of a film named after this synapomorphy that defines this group, the chondrichthyes. So teeth were among the first bones. Second, jaws. So Jaws was the first summer blockbuster film, and jaws are something we find within the chondrichthyes. They have jaws, but they don't have a bony skeleton. So these are cartilaginous fishes. Cartilaginous fishes, which means we're talking about sharks, manta rays, skates, which look an awful lot like rays. But these are all fish that have teeth and they have jaws, but they don't have a bony skeleton. Until we get to this next leap forward. which is having a bony skeleton. Maybe I'll just kind of draw some arrows so it's very clear what's happening at each of these divergence events. So Actinopterygii, these are mostly our ray-finned, bony fishes. So chances are, if I ask you to think of a fish, but not a shark or a skate or a ray, you're probably going to think of a member of this clade, the Actinopterygii. So tuna, trout, salmon, goldfish, betas, bass, on and on and on. Those are all going to be ray-finned, bony fishes. Okay? Any fish that you ever have gotten a bone out of is probably going to be one of those. There are some other bony fishes, a couple of other clades. So the Actinopterygii, we used to refer to the Sarcopterygii as being the bony fishes, but there's a problem with that because it includes all of the bony fishes, but it doesn't exclude other bony members of the Chordata. So we, as mammals, would be part of the clade of Sarcopterygii. So hence your inner fish telling us about how we have some synapomorphies of the fishes that we can still see today. Things like how we have our pharyngeal gill slits and how they have been repurposed for other things. Okay, so the Actinistia is another clade of bony fish. These are lobe-finned fishes. Sela, selo, how do we spell that? Sela. So lobe-finned fishes actually have not just ray fins, which is like they have like a flap, but they actually have, those flaps have bones in them, so they have effectively limbs. They are like tetrapods, although they are not tetrapods. So that includes the Actinistia. Also in things that are bony and fish, we have a third divergent group, which is called Dipnoi. These are lung fishes and relatives. Lung fishes have kind of crude limbs as well, but the thing that really separates out our Dipnoi are having lungs. Like the swim bladder has been modified into a lung, which enables them to breathe air. Lung fishes are known for living in very shallow bodies of water that may dry up during the summer months. So many lung fishes will go through a process called estivation. Estivation is like the opposite of hibernation. Hibernation means sleeping through the winter to avoid harsh conditions of the winter. Estivation means you sleep through the summer to avoid the harsh, dry conditions of the summer. So there's something that's not a strictly speaking important winkety wink, but it is interesting nonetheless. Okay, so we've got these three groups of bony fishes having a bony skeleton. So our next great evolutionary leap forward is having fully articulated our forelimbs and hind limbs. Or what we call tetrapods, which means 4 legs. And having 4 limbs enable these organisms to go from living strictly in aquatic habitats, as we find in all of these thus far. Lungfishes can spend a little bit of time in a semi-terrestrial habitat. but still mostly aquatic. Amphibians, amphibios means double life. So they live both on land and in water. So this includes things like frogs and salamanders and caecilians. So maybe I'll just do this. I'm going to do this, yes. So we have caecilians in the order Gymnophiona, because they're like naked snakes. Now it's thought that the Gymnophiona has lost their limbs. They had and lost them, which is different from never having had them. And we also have Anura frogs without a tail is what that means. And Chordata, which are they're salamanders, newts, and things like that. So those are your amphibians, which have that double life. They still lay their eggs in water, but they can live an appreciable part of their life on land as well. So tetrapods having that double life was pretty nice and all, except it led to organisms that, hey, what if we want to spend our life entirely on land, maybe go for a little quick dip every now and then, but not rely on having a body of water for our reproduction. This led to the amniote egg, which I have drawn for you. Somewhere before or after this video, you will see a video about how the amniote egg is constructed in order to allow it to be completely independent from bodies of water. It brings its own hydration along with it. And here we have a major divide into two major clades, which are the synapsida and the diapsida. And these two clades are differentiated based on, among other things, one of the most important things that's considered is what's happening in the skull and the shape of the skull. And I've got another video explaining how synapsid skulls and diapsid skulls are different to each other. Well, the synapsids, through a series of divergences, led to all of the mammals. All the mammals are synapsids. We are the only still living group of synapsids that are out there. But the diapsids have diverged into a number of other lineages. So this includes how do I want to do this? I'll just do it like this. Traditional reptilians meaning turtles, snakes, lizards, and a lot of other things. But really, the reptilia, we cannot so neatly and cleanly remove reptilia here because they do form a clade with, there's some other lineages that have gone extinct that I've not included here, but I'm going to include another extinct lineage, which is I'll just call it the Dinosauria, which are traditional dinosaurs. So like T-Rex, Stegosaurus, Brontosaurus, Apatosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Hadrosaurs. All of those dinosaurs are in this diapsid lineage. However, we cannot exclude the dinosaurs, strictly speaking. So often nowadays, you'll hear these referred to as the non-avian dinosaurs, because the non-avian dinosaurs we now recognize as being extinct due to, well, among other things, a giant meteor crashing into the Earth about 66 million years ago off the what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, which means we don't have any more non-avian dinosaurs, but we do have avian dinosaurs. And what are avian dinosaurs? Well, that's the group of organisms known as aves, which are birds. So birds are actually part of the clade that includes the dinosaurs. So yes, birds are dinosaurs. You may have heard that before, but it is true that birds are the last remaining vestiges of the dinosaur lineage. So dinosaurs are not, strictly speaking, extinct. Only the non-avian ones are. But birds are part of that clade. So it has persisted and seems to be flourishing pretty well. Okay, I'm going to draw another phylogeny in a separate video, expanding more on what's happening within the mammalia. I might expand more on what's happening in the vertebrata. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not yet. Anyway, there's your phylogeny of the Chordata, including all of our still living extant lineages.